Hello everybody. Today I'll be running through Topaz Sharpen AI, what it is, how it works, and what you can use it for. So stay with me and we'll get into it right after the break. Hi everyone. So as I mentioned, today I'll be running through Topaz Sharpen AI. So I'll be looking at version 2.1.3. So double check your version. There may be some differences between what I'm looking at and your specific version. All right. So we'll start off with the interface itself. It's very, very similar to pretty much most of the Topaz range. You've got your central area here, which is where you can open your images. And I'm going to go open. I'm going to go into sharpen, and I'm going to start with a kangaroo photo. Okay. So the very first thing you'll see is that at the moment we're in like a preview screen, and we've got this center bar. So this center bar is within view and split view. And what that center bar does is it lets you change your preview. So on the left hand side is your before, on the right hand side is your after. Now at the moment you'll notice there's not really any difference because I've got auto update preview turned off. So if that's on, what will happen is as soon as I make a change, it'll automatically update the preview and show me what it looks like on the right hand side. So I'm going to let this run and we're going to see what the difference is. So it is worth noting that this is all on manual settings at the moment. But if you look, the left hand side is the before and the right hand side is the after. So because what I've actually done is I've moved the window a little bit, it's actually recalculating it. So if you're going to make a lot of changes, it probably is worth turning off auto update preview. And then what that will do is you'll be able to see the difference by just pressing update. So I'm going to press update. The moment it's on stabilize, manually I've set that, and the sharpness and noise suppression I've also manually set. So let's have a look at what this looks like, and then we'll run through some of your other options. So I do want to mention I have not done anything to this photo, so I haven't artificially applied blurs or anything like that. This is a photo that I'd taken that I wasn't entirely happy with, and I wanted to see what it could do. So with a manual setting of sharpness 50 and noise suppression 50, when you look at the animal, you can see it actually has made a pretty big difference. Now you do get some artifacts around the edge. It actually has done a pretty good job of the grass as well. So, you know, I'm pretty happy with that, but I want to show you a lot of the features of Topaz Sharpen AI. And so we're going to start off with this auto here. So what this does is this automatically determines the mode that it thinks is best suited for this photo. And actually it's telling me that it thinks focus is probably better than stabilize. This auto settings bit down here automatically detects what it thinks the settings should be based on what it understands of the photo. So now, because I've got auto update preview turned off, I need to press update. And what it's going to do is it's going to calculate and generate a preview based on the settings that I've picked. So once this is done, we'll have a quick look at this. So it actually, it's interesting. I tend to think stabilize worked better. So, you know, you are going to have to see what works best for your photos. I'm going to put it on stabilize. I don't know if it was maybe because the sharpness was also changed. Do you know what? Let's try auto, but on stabilize. Let's do it again and see what it looks like. So with a lot of these tools, you know, they try and understand a photo, and sometimes that's easier said than done. And really what it comes down to is what works best for your photo. So even though it does have automatic tools, don't always rely on them. You may find that for your system and your photo and your workflow, you need to do it manually. So that's definitely much better, I think, on stabilized than focus. And perhaps that's because there's, you know, different issues in this photo. So if I wanted to save this, I would click on Save Image down the bottom, which is just behind my logo. I'll just remove that logo so it's not confusing. So I would click on Save Image. Now all I do is set what image format I want. Do I want JPEG, TIFF, PNG, DNG? And these settings will change based on what you pick. So if you pick JPEG, you'll get quality instead. Where do you want to save it? Do you want it to be a custom directory, or do you want it to be where the file source was? And then also, what do you want the color profile to be? Do you want it to be the same as what it was? sRGB, Adobe RGB, Apple RGB, or so on. So if I was happy with that, I would then press save and it would do its work. But there is one thing that I want to show you first, because one of the really good features I think of this is the mask tool. So let's say I'm working with this photo. I'm just going to zoom out just a little bit, and for whatever reason, I want everything to be blurry except for part of the animal. So what I can do is I can click on mask, and this will then give me the option to mask the image. Now there is find objects, and find objects I'll show examples with other photos, but it tries to use AI to identify objects within your photo, like pets, those sorts of things, people, and then automatically mask them. This is probably a little bit too hard for that, and it won't necessarily have it in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press add. I am going to then find object, that's fine. I'm then going to paint in the mask. Oh, mask. Yeah, there we go. So what you'll see is the plus is basically saying I want to apply the mask. And if I want to change the size of this, I would use the square brackets to do so. So I can make it bigger, I can make it smaller, whatever I need. Now, let's say I go, whoops, and now I've masked this area up here that I don't want. I can then just go sub, might make it a little bit bigger, and then I just paint where I want that mask to be removed, and it's now gone. So you can always remove your mask or add, depending on obviously what you're trying to do. So what you'll see down here in the bottom right is that where the white is where the mask is actually going to be applied. Now I've just done a really rough mask, but it will give you an idea of what can be achieved. You can also go into options, you can invert, you can clear, delete the mask, all of those things. So that's a handy little feature. But let's go apply mask. So now that I've applied the mask, if I update, I'm going to increase the sharpness actually. I'm going to go quite aggressive. I wouldn't suggest increasing the sharpness this much, but it is handy to show you the example. So I press update, and what it's going to do now is it's going to calculate the sharpness based on that mask. So wherever is white in that mask is actually where the sharpness work would be applied. And this is really handy because you may only want to affect a certain element within your photo and not the whole lot. So what you'll see if I move this across is if you look down at the grass area, it's not doing anything. But if you look at the animal's fur, it is. And so that's because I've applied that mask locally to that area. Now, as I said, if I wanted to save it, go save image. I might save it to source, and then I would just go save. And what it will do is it will start to go through and process that image. It'll take a while to do it because what we were looking at was a preview. So it was actually only updating a small section that we were looking at, whereas now it's got to do the whole photo itself. So once we've done this one, we'll then have a look at another few different examples of some of the AI features within Sharpen AI, especially around masking. So we're nearly there. Perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to close all images. I'm going to open a new image. And I am going to pick a photo of my son, Miles. Now, the reason I'm picking this photo is because I want to show you, I'm not going to apply any sharpness correction, but I do want to show you mask. So if I click on mask and find object, you'll now see that there's person and sofa. So if I pick person, you see it's tried to mask Miles as best it could. So it's not perfect, you know, a lot of these tools aren't. But what it does do is it lets you, it masks as much as it can, and then you can just go and take out the bits that don't apply, or the bits that, you know, you need to mask, you might add them in yourself. So, you know, you can see already I've, you know, neatened that a tiny bit, but there's obviously a lot, you know, down here you wouldn't worry about. And so this lets you mask and just have the effect on that image itself. Now, you could do a couple of different things. So let's say, for example, you want all of the image to be sharpened except for the sun. What you could do is you could go options and invert. And what that will do is that will now apply sharpening to everywhere that's red, which is pretty much everywhere except Miles. So, you know, that's a handy little trick to be able to use. I'm going to close all images. I'm going to pick a B. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Going to just move so we can see its face. And I'm going to turn auto and auto on. And we'll see exactly what it's going to do. So on the left-hand side is the before, and on the right-hand side is the after. So actually, when you look at the eye, it's definitely sharpened the eye. So there's definitely blur removal that's happened there. And the leg as well. And just generally some of the hairs have been increased or improved and sharpened as well. So I think that's a good example, actually, when you look at the face. You know, it's not the best photo, and it's always hard when animals are moving to see, you know, how these can be improved. But I think for things like macro, it's probably a really good way of doing it. So I've just picked stabilize, and I've just done it again. And so you can see stabilize does a pretty good job as well. This one's probably somewhere in between needing focus correction for focal blur and stabilize as well. So I hope this has been useful. Couple of other very minor things. So if you go into preferences, and advanced preferences. That allows you to set some of the GPU settings. So things like, have you got a discrete graphics card? If so, do you want to use it? What's your allowed graphics memory consumption? Those sorts of things as well. And if you want to give a file a certain name at the end of it, you can then put that in here as well. Yeah, like I said, I hope this has been useful. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments or get in touch with me. Stay tuned, there'll be many more videos to come. Thanks for watching.
Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah.